Okay, and I think we're live. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar. And this is the follow up to the previous webinar, which was all about the keyword planner. It was an introduction and an overview to the keyword planner. And we said we would go deeper into the different areas of the keyword planner. And that's what we're doing in this webinar. And with me, once again, I have the one and only Dan. He's the CEO and co founder of Resonance Technology, which is the parent company of Writer Zen. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Hoss. Very nice to see you again, and
I know,
very nice
yeah.
to see everyone again. I mean, it's been definitely quite some times. I mean, I'm trying to get used to be able to go back on the webinar schedule. I think we have discussed about this. We're trying to put up every 2 weeks now to help our users kind of get used to the tool. We do realize that the tool slowly get more and more complex, and so I think the fact that we should be sharing a little more and more of some of the best practice and the things that we are doing so that we can add more value to our end users. That's like super necessary at the moment.
Yeah, I remember, some time ago, I used to use, I forget what plugin it was now, but you had some SEO plugins that work inside WordPress. And over time, they started to get bigger and bigger, but they also started getting clunkier and clunkier.
Yeah.
Um, Writer Zen is getting bigger and bigger, the tool set, but it's actually getting faster and faster as well.
We try
I can sit,
to.
I can sit down now and do an entire session in one sitting. It's vastly more complex than it was, a year ago.
Yeah.
But it's also a lot faster, and yeah, so credit to you that it's working. But
I
yeah,
mean,
we,
I'm sure there's still quite a lot of bugs that happening here and there, but that's very normal in production level of any product. Particularly when we first launched with the amount of traffic, I think triple. We're looking at triple amount of credit burns in almost any every angle, and we're like, oh crap! It's like this is definitely going to cause some bugs. But those are good. Those are good sign of things are growing, and
yeah.
so fixing bugs is definitely one of those things that you have to do.
It is part of the development cycle. You have to account for those things. But the thing is, I've invested in many tools that at the beta stage where they just didn't work properly, like
Mhm.
at all. It was just a nice front, but the bugs have been relatively minor things.
Mm.
So they haven't been showstoppers, and I think that shows
Yeah.
in the feedback. But talking of feedback, we had a very good feedback for the last webinar, and thank you very much. And as Dan said, we're trying to do these. We did ask, and we thought 2 weeks would be a good enough time frame. When it's a weekly thing, sometimes people don't have the time, and sometimes people can miss one, and
Mm.
there's a lot of information in these webinars, so you can miss a lot if you miss one. So we thought 2 weeks, but again, we always work on feedback, so keep that coming and help us guide.
Yeah, I mean, just shoot us feedbacks on our community group. Shoot our email. I have my emails available for everyone. You can shoot me straight up emails or to House. Any channel available. You can just tell us what ideas you want to discuss about. Because a lot of times, what we think is the problems that our user have may not be the problem that you guys actually running into. So I think one of the things that we will do next week is we're going to do a poll. We're going to do polling system that consistently from now on. So every week we'll do a polling asking your feedback on the ideas that you would like us to talk about in terms of uh, the webinar to every 2 weeks. And so the week after we have at least a week to prepare the content as well, the example, the use case, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth to share with you. And perhaps sometimes we can even invite guest speaker, to our webinars that we could share a little more with you as well. So I think
Mhm.
those would be some of the initiative which we plan to do
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
with our community.
Look out for the poll. Look out for the poll. And on last thing on that, actually, some good feedback came through last time. So definitely when we talk about anything on the webinar, if you're not clear on a point and you want us to go deeper on that, then definitely do that, because we can do that very easily, because it's about the tool, it's about the content. We already know it. So but again, if you don't say anything, then we don't know. And the worst thing is for you to be using a tool and to only understand 80% of it, and think, well, I didn't quite understand that, but I'll just keep using it. It's part of the fun is understanding, everything that
Yes,
it's
yes.
doing in the background. So do ask.
Um, that's actually what happened to a couple of our B2B clients. So when we were onboarding them, I mean, the tool get quite complex. So when we were onboarding them, some of the issue they have is just simply the issue that is already built-in features, but they didn't know that the features is available. Like how to okay, how do I do comparative research when I build my outlines? And if I have an outline, do I have a way for me to build extended outline using AI? And those are the things that we already have built in. But I realized then that a lot of time the problems that people have, um, they stopped using the tool simply because they didn't know there is a solution that already built in. So the fact that we kind of have to be able to provide better solution in terms of educating people of how the tool works and what it is, I think either through webinar, through our user guide videos, through the onboarding, through material, whatever it is, I think it needed to be done a lot better job. And also that cannot be done without the help of our users as well. So if you have any questions, again, shoot it up. Hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? I personally will. That's what I do nowadays. Is I personally go into the website, the Facebook group to try to answer as much as I can on any of the topic that people
Excellent. You can speak directly to Daniel. Eh? What a deal! What a deal! Okay,
have.
so let's recap very quickly. So, right, sorry, the Keyword Planner is WriterZen's new tool. It bridges Keyword Explorer with Content Creator. It creates a complete SEO workflow, if you like. But what makes the Keyword Planner so powerful and special is the fact that it brings these insights into your keywords, giving you the full story behind your keywords. As I mentioned in the last webinar, I think this is one of the first tools, if not the first tool, that presents quantitative metrics like search volume and keyword difficulty alongside qualitative metrics or insights like intent, search intent, micro intent, even the buying funnel. So it really gives you a lot of information in one place. So Dan, can you talk a little bit about the mechanism behind the keyword planner? What is happening behind that machine?
Sure. I think to talk about mechanism, I think we first kind of briefly visit the reason why we need to do cluster, right? I think I underestimate the amount of information that was given. So a lot of people didn't even realize that cluster is a very important part of any organic marketing workflow, right? And so I think the first thing, let me share my screen real quick, is people need to, I think we need to kind of talk a little bit on why cluster is important. So I think I have a use case here. I mean, people were requesting a niche. So I think what better niche than tiny house? I mean, is one of the biggest niche right now happening in US. If you look at this, you see the total search volume is about 2.5 millions a month,
Nice.
and that's insane amount. With the keyword
Mm,
itself about 301,000 search volume. That's just, to me, is insane. So it's no longer become just a small niche. It's become a very, very big niche. And the reason why I still classify them as niche, I will share with you a little bit later when we look at them on a deeper marketing insight point of view, right? But let's look at cluster. Why is cluster important? So I think the first things we have to understand is um, the mechanism of Google. When they rank for any keyword, they were trying to figure out if that keyword, because have if that keyword have any other variation, right? Meaning that if there's a keyword, for example, best coffee in town, or it should be the same meaning as the keyword, the this town. What is the best coffee in this town? I mean, those are two keyword different in the way it was typed down, but they have the same semantic meaning. So Google will then understand these two semantic meaning of these two keywords and provide you with the same kind of result pages, right? And you will happen to see that a lot with, let's say maybe this keyword near me, and then tiny house for sales, for example. You start seeing that the ranking of the sub position over here is the same as ranking the sub position over here. So when these two keyword with the same sub position are being ranked for, you could group them together. And instead of having to write a piece of content for a single keyword, you can now then write a piece of content for all of the keyword in the same cluster and have a chance to rank for both keyword instead of just one. I wonder if I explained that okay.
Yeah.
Hos-
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, back in the early days of Google, when Google was dumb, you know, green apples and red apples with two separate searches. So you would have to create one page about green apples, one page about red apples, in order to rank them. As Google got more complex and started to piece together semantic meaning, it then understood that red apples and green apples are part of the same theme. So and what that translates to is that if if years ago you had 139 keywords and you've refined all your keywords by search volume and keyword difficulty, because that's what you had in those days. And you have a list of 139 keywords. That meant 139 articles with
yeah,
clustering. Clustering, essentially, you're grouping keywords that are semantically related, that should be on the same page. So instead of 139 articles, you could actually end up writing 10 or 11 articles,
yes,
which is a
that's correct.
lot less
Yeah.
work, but a lot more powerful, because now one page can rank for hundreds, if not thousands, of keywords that are
Mhm.
all to do with that theme. Whereas
Yeah.
before, you had one page that actually ranked for red apples and one for green apples.
Yeah, and it also helps you to not run into what the term is keyword cannibalization,
Mm,
because let's say if you try to write for red apple, which is one article, and then green apple, which is one article, but in the eyes of Google, red apple or green apple should be in the same article. You then will actually kill one keyword will kill the other. So red
mm,
apple will rank for the top, but you
yeah,
won't rank for the green apple simply because the other keyword is trying to rank for the same keyword in Google's mind. So
yeah.
then it's this conflicting of the way you build your content. Therefore, the clustering mechanism is exceptionally important. And
Hmm.
it's also even more important that people there are two school of thought and the two way of doing clustering. The first way is semantic clustering, and the second way is sub-position clustering. Semantic clustering essentially just mean that there's a semantic algorithm where you just simply group keyword with similar semantic sort of meaning together without any kind of check and balance. So I don't know whether this keyword should group together is correct or not, but meaning wise, they look correct. So I will just group them together, and that's for a long time, majority of what agency and SEO agency have to do is they have to do it by hand. So they would
Hmm.
export a list of keyword out, and then they would do by put it on an Excel sheet, and then they would do by column, and then kind of search terms that are similar, and then they just kind of group them together. So these are by hand. Eventually, someone built an algorithm to do that, but to us, those are not the accurate way to do cluster for SEO. So what we do instead is we do exactly what I shared with you the mechanism earlier is we look at each of these keyword sub position. So a single keyword will have a 10 sub position that appearing, and we look for the second keyword with the same with different 10 position. And what we do then is we will look for this is what we call cluster level. Cluster level meaning that in each of those keyword now we look for 5 URLs that are similar. So same URLs, let's say five classical level five mean 5 URLs appear at the same sub position result for these two keyword. Then the meaning of that would be that these two keywords are semantically linking by Google definition. So the keyword here is by Google definition, right? Yeah.
I'm glad.
So that's essentially is the mechanism behind how we do it. And so a cluster mean that a group of keyword with similar URLs ranking for each of those, let's say level by level, which is five in 5 URLs that rank that's the same. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not doing that clustering manually. I tell you.
Well, that's what we had to do in the past for a very
Yeah.
long time when we were running agency. It was horrible. It was a nightmare because with a list of keyword 4,800, it would cost us 2 days,
Yeah.
and
Easy.
there's no guarantee of
No.
whether or not it's correct. So this is a way to you to do it really fast, and yeah, it's very accurate. I mean, in the past, in the previous update, it was like 200 minutes. Really, I mean, it's that long for 4008 keyword, but now I think it's roughly less than 10. I think like 8 minutes. The last time
Yeah.
I did this was like 5 minutes. Depends on when how the server is doing at that moment. If it's
Yeah.
overload, it's probably like 10 minutes, but then if it's not, it's like 5 minutes.
I've
So
seen it go really, really fast.
yeah, so that is essentially the mechanism of clustering.
Okay, so let's go on to the data source. One of the things about choosing a tool to work with that I think is super important is knowing where the data is coming from. The reality is that excuse me, there's a computational cost and an access cost to get real data, and that's why most tools have a premium. They're paid tools because obviously the company has to keep the lights on, but also they have to pay to access that data. And one of the things that well, just to digress a little bit, I remember years ago. I was working with, I was using a particular tool. I won't mention it by name. It was a long time ago, but I ranked number one for a keyword that the tool showed as having 70,000 searches per month, and the reality was more like 10 searches per month. It was incredible, and I was back and forth with support, sharing screenshots, and eventually they said, "Oh, it was a glitch in the data." And
Glitch in the data.
a glitch in the data, yeah, it's the data. The robots got it wrong. The problem was I didn't rank for that keyword overnight. It took a lot of time and effort to do that. So imagine doing that across an entire campaign of keywords that are not verified. A lot of keyword tools guess. It's a good guess. Maybe they use data points. Maybe they use proprietary algorithms. Maybe they use something else. Um, but for me, the data source, knowing where the data is actually coming from, is a key decision factor. So one of the first things that attracted me to write the Zen is the fact that you transparency on the data sources. So can you tell us a little bit about those data sources and just for anyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first, what we are doing is we try to do organic marketing on Google as a search engine, right? So I think the most legitimate and the most accurate data source you should get, no matter how you think it could be inaccurate, it has to come from Google, right? I mean, it's like you try to rank on their platform, so the whatever data they provide you has to be the standard of truth that you have to rely on. I understand that. I mean, the number typically doesn't really truly reflect the true volume search, simply because the way they it's called delay in data, because you cannot really update this data in real time. I mean, imagine you have 500, 500 or a billion of billions of keywords that are concurrently appear every day that are being searched. You can't just simply update a billions of keyword in real time. That would cost an insane amount of computational cost and
Hmm.
server and everything else. So what they did is they do a very delayed calculation. So whatever present to you are typically not really the actual 100% real time of the search itself, but it is as close to the truth as you can get with any source. There are two sources of data when you go to Google, and we are one of a partner of Google, so we are actually official partner. And the reason you have to be now is that Google will only provide you API, official API data access point if you are their partner. And it's a very scrutinized process for you to become Google partner. They actually have to go and check your source code and make sure that the product you build actually makes sense and provide values to Google's end users. So that's what we had to go through in order to show Google that, hey, we should be your partner. We build stuff that are good, secure, that helpful for users, and that's how we get in to access the Google database. In terms of Google database, there are two sorts of keyword. The first is Google keyword database, and the second is Google suggest keyword suggest database. So Google keyword database is what you typically would get when you search a normal like keyword planner, right? They would give you a bunch of keywords that they suggest to you, and those are Google keyword database. And the second thing is Google suggest database. Typically, is what you, let's say you search on a box, the search box on Google, you will see a pop up, at the bottom showing all the other suggested searches that appear. So we are able to crawl both of that database. If you look at our data, you'll be able to see if I form the data from bottom to top, you'll see a bunch of keywords that are less than 10 searches. And most of these keyword that less than 10 searches are keyword from Google suggest database. And you click on those, there typically no historical data that show to you. And in SEO term, these are the keyword that they call phantom keyword. So phantom keyword is um, a fascinating concept that I don't think many people are aware of. So if you do SEO, you realize that in your Google Search Console, a lot of time you will rank for keyword that you don't even know exist, right? And if you put that keyword in like anywhere, you check, it's like it's shown 10 volume search or even no data, but it gives you traffic of like 100 or 200, and you're like, how? Where is this keyword coming from? And a lot of time, that's how you get, and those are the keyword which I call phantom keyword. And phantom keyword typically work with earlier website when you want to grow your base of organic traffic very quickly. So all you need to do is look up all these keyword that is volume search very low, and you try to write and optimize your content and article, internal linking and topical authority on those kind of keyword. And you just kind of go in there and write a bunch of content. Put out volume. These keywords are typically a lot less in terms of competition. I turn on all in title over here as well, so you can see all of the all in title here typically are zero, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a very good chance on ranking most of these keywords. And when you rank for one, and if you can cluster them, you can rank for most of the other. And that's how you kind of build this, the very beginning basis of authority. You show
Mm-hmm.
Google that you cover all the smaller keyword, and when you rank, that's when Google kind of accept that you are the authority in some way, not really a key authority, but you really appearing with people on that end. So I think those are, I would say, three concepts. Where our data source are Google keyword. All of our data actually come directly from Google keyword. One thing I want to note it here is that uh, a lot of Google have a very strict rule with certain keyword. For example, keyword that relate to pornography, that relate to gambling, typically they will ban. So sometime when you search for those kind of keyword that are banned in Google policy, our tool will not provide the keyword and will show you a batch code no data. And that's the reason why some keyword will not contain data that you cannot use of the tool.
Cool. Very cool. Just on that note, with phantom keywords, that's a great point. A lot of people think that they need to target keywords that have a search volume of a minimum search volume of 100, and you really are overlook, especially if your site has little to no authority. It's a new site, it's a new blog. As Dan says, you have a great opportunity here and you can quickly rack up your traffic by ranking for these phantom keywords. And they're super low competitive because no one is targeting them, because a lot of people say, well, there's no traffic to those keywords. But the thing is, if you're ranking for 100 keywords that are all to do with, let's say, for example, paint, and that gets you only a little traffic, you still have a lot of content on paint, and that's how you start to build your topical authority, so that when you do put out a pillar piece on paint, you have some authority behind that. You are the website that talks about paint, about all things paint. So
Mhm.
even phantom keywords, especially phantom keywords, they should be part of your campaign, especially in the early stages,
Mhm.
because and you have, if you target enough of them, and as Dan said, if you cluster them, that's even better. You can start to get good traffic just from those.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about phantom keyword is they don't get affect as much on zero click. So when you guys do organic marketing, you have to know that the percentage of zero click nowadays get to 40%. And majority of the search that you have, particularly on sport, let's say Premier League, you follow football, you search like Premier League, and the search is so high, but majority of them are zero click. The Google show me the result page on the top right already, so I typically will not click on anything. So there are
Yep.
certain keywords that have zero click percentage that's extremely high. You don't want to
Great point.
do organic marketing on that. But then most of the phantom keyword are what people are actually looking for, actual content,
Mm,
and inside. So it's not so much of a zero click, and also because there's very less competition on it. You won't have to compete so much with people putting feature snippets, and people also ask kind of things, and you can just actually compete on that end to show the kind of content that actually answer directly on the keyword itself.
yeah,
So a little bit on that. I think you mentioned also something about topical authority and on that note, I think that would be a very good topic we should cover in
yeah,
our next series of webinar. Not on this one because we have to dig deep on Keyword Planner a little bit, but I think a lot of people are requesting how they can build topical authority, how they can set down, how do I build pillar page, how do I write that long piece of pillar page, and then how do I build other cluster or subtopic and sub pages
yeah.
and content around them and internal linking them. So those are the things that we should definitely designated a webinar for that as well.
Definitely. I mean, they have the perfect tool here to actually go through the process of building a topical authority. And that's how the game is played now. You can rank for a lot of things without any backlinks if you have enough authority and
Yes.
your content is relevant. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. I have seen some questions about topical authority. We keep circling back to that, but definitely we'll do something. Just to
Sure.
finish off on the data source, you mentioned something interesting there about whether the data coming from Google is legit or not. And there's a lot of theories, and they have been around for a long time, for many years, where people say, well, Google, they're not telling us the truth and so on. But at the end of the day, the Google have little to gain from distorting the data, and you could say they inflate the numbers. But the thing is, if they inflate the numbers, they're going to inflate them across the board, because you don't get a billion keywords and then start inflating only some. And again, the computational cost will be tremendous, not to mention the amount of time. So the easiest thing to do would be to increase everything by, let's say, 5%, which means if you're still looking for keywords that have a higher search volume in a group, then it works out just the same. It doesn't matter if you're looking at the real search volume or if everything is inflated by 10% or 5%, because it's still the same graph, it's still the same
Yeah.
chart. So as Dan said, at the end of the day, we're all trying to rank in Google. Let's face it, they have the lion's share of the web, and they have had for a long time, and we're getting the data from Google.
Yeah.
Regardless of anything else, that should be the first step. It's a no-brainer to me. If you're trying to
Yeah.
get rank in Google, just get the data from Google. And
Well,
the
and
Mhm.
I want to note here too is that I think people really have to understand the concept zero click. It's very important.
Mm,
Is zero click really taking about 40% of the web traffic? So when you do SEO, you realize that, oh, how come this keyword have this much search volume, but how come I don't get the traffic when I rank for number one? Well,
yeah,
because some of the time the kind of the search query that you rank for are the kind of queries that people just not click on. So it's called non-zero click queries, right? So it's one of those things that you really need to be careful when you do SEO as well. Yeah. So please go
excellent, excellent. To be honest, that's a new that's a webinar all of its own.
on.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go on to the next section, which is the flows. Actually, in Keyword Planner, there are two flows, two ways to go into that, and one of them involves an import function. So if you're working with a different tool, or if you have legacy keywords on external files, then you're covered, because you can bring those in. I personally work only with Writer-Zen, so I have all my keywords are internal, because my keyword lists are internal, because I generate them inside Writer-Zen. But can you walk us through the two different flows, the two different ways to use Keyword Planner?
Yeah, so I think we'll go with the first flow. That will be internally. So internally, as you can see, you can go to a Keyword Explorer, Simply type in your keyword. Sorry, tiny
Tiny house.
tiny house, for example. You set your location, you set your language, and then you click search. And I kind of did one already here. Again, very similar. I think I'm sure you all kind of already see this graphic. You can look at some of the trends. Oops, something's wrong with the trend, a little bit bugs there. But as you scroll down, you'll be able to see the list of keywords. As you see here, it's a very big niche. It's not just simply a small niche. The 2.5 million is huge. And then the amount of keyword that we suggest, this inclusive of both keyword explore, Google keyword database and Google suggest Google keyword suggest database. And from here, the goal here is to really sort out the list of keyword that you want to target. And from there, you kind of build into a cluster. Now that the cluster speed get really fast, I typically would just go with all keyword, and then you kind of figure out the filtering system from there, from Keyword Planner, because it works so well for me and my flow. So I would go directly click on cluster. If you don't like that, you can do some filtering here. Let's say I want all the keywords that minimum have to be 50 search volume. You click apply, and now the amount of, if you click on this button over here, you'll see that the keyword dropped to about 1,600. If you click on cluster, we'll show you two options. Either you can just cluster selected, which is a selected amount of 1.6 thousand, or you can cluster all, which is 4,825. It works when, particularly when you utilize all this filter, and each time after you finish the filter, you click on here, the number change again. And when you click on cluster again, you'll see cluster selected or cluster all. So that's one of the way for you to go directly to cluster. I typically will go to cluster all, and I'll do most of my filtering over there, and I share with you a little bit of my own way of working on a niche after we go to Keyword Planner. So we click all, and when you click on all, we'll show you a pop-up screen. From this pop-up screen, we'll show you a few options to set up. The first is clustering level. So I was just like me sharing with you earlier. The clustering level mean that you want to group keyword with how many similar URLs in the search result. Three means three similar URLs. So you will group keyword with three similar URLs in the search result together. I will usually with this kind of group, I'll go with five because it has so many keywords. A lot of group of keywords where it's more niche, when you have maybe just 1,000 keywords, maybe you will go with less like URLs, for example, three, so that you can have more cluster to work with and more cluster to work on. Then you set up the name of the cluster, tiny house, US, for example. That'll be one of the way. You click activate, and will bring you to the screen of Keyword Planner, right? And you will bring it to this part over here, and it will load up the screen. It will you have a loading screen for about a few minutes, and then you can kind of go make your coffee and then come back, and it's probably already there. We'll show you this view, and that's how you access from the first flow. The
Okay,
second flow,
just to
yes,
recap.
sorry. Mhm.
Sorry, just to recap on that, just to make it clear for everyone. So when you're clustering your keywords in Keyword Explorer, you got the data screen where it's processing the data, and when it finishes clustering, it will automatically take you to Keyword Planner. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to click anything. You're already on Keyword Planner. It naturally moves you to the next tool, which is
Yeah.
where you're going to start making the decisions.
Yeah, you will be notified on our notification center, and we'll also send you an email notified you that the clustering is done. In case if you are out and about, you want to do something else, so we notified you. It does two ways. All right. So then the second way you can do is actually import keyword. So we just update also our import factor. First thing is you set up the project name, tiny house, choose your location and language, as I see over here. Then you can click on import. So either you can import from our function keyword list, where you save the keyword list from somewhere else. Let's say you search tiny house, you search how to tiny house, you search tiny big house, and then you group all of that into a single keyword list. You can actually import that list from here. Second way you do it is import from file. We now support let me see support we support TXT or XLSX file, which is Excel file. ensure size less than two megabyte. I'm sure most files like this would be 2 megabyte. Click on it. I have an example here. You click on the file itself, click open, which will automatically will actually check out all the columns. So you just go to the columns of your file. That's a keyword, because a lot of time if you use SEMrush or you use Ahref, you have a file now that have so many different columns of your export, right? So you just need to choose the column that contain your keyword. Click on it. You click import. You delete the column name, and that's it. The list of keyword already in, and then the same thing happens. You set up your cluster level. Five, you can ITF golden filter directly from here as well, so make it a lot easier for you to do filtering later. And that's it. Click add, and it will bring you to the same screen, loading screen, and then bring you to the Cube Planner screen.
Fantastic, fantastic. And while we're here, this is a perfect perfect entry into the next section, which I wanted to talk about the actual labeling. So within the keyword planner, and as I said earlier on, we now have insights alongside the traditional metrics. And as I just mentioned, this is where I now make all my decisions. I used to make my decisions in Keyword Explorer. I'd filter all my keywords and I go, yeah, I'm going to go for those. This tool has just changed the game. It's moved the decision making from Keyword Explorer to here, because now I can actually see the real market. I can, at the keyword level, I can see the insights, but I can also step back and look at the topic and cluster level, and I get a real view of the market, of what's going on, whether most people are searching for a particular type of search or not, and that helps me decide whether something is viable, I should go after something, or maybe not. So this is like the control center for me now. This tool.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through the labeling, and in particular, and also touch on the buying funnel, because you added the buying funnel to these insights, which I think is fabulous. But let us know more about these insights.
Sure. So let me go into this part really quick here, so I can pull down something on Keyword Planner inside. Okay, so I think one of the things that I was doing SEO for a long time, organic marketing actually, because organic marketing, digital marketing, you realize that it's not everything is about SEO, right? I mean, if you by converting users is an entire funnel of different phases. You have the buyer journey go from awareness, and then they have to be aware, and when they're aware, it could be from multiple different digital touch points. It's not just SEO. Your SEO is one of the touch point. It's not all of the touch point. It's one of the major touch point for sure. So what I realized over the course of doing organic marketing is that in order for you to really truly optimize on the queries people search, or build the content that fit with what people are truly searching for, you have to understand where that queries belong to what part of a buyer journey, right? I mean, a buyer journey contains of, right now we buy our definition, before, make it simple: awareness, consideration, decision, and post purchase. So typically that would be the buyer journey. And then in awareness phase, for example, typically it will contain most of the keyword that have informational intent and consideration intent, because they are looking for information. The first would be they're looking for information in terms of definition, or in terms of some sort of it's with researching, right? And after they are aware of the problem that they have, aware of the need that they have, the demand that they have, then they move to consideration, where, okay, now that I know I have this need and I need to resolve this needs, let's say over here is tiny house, I want to know what is tiny house, right? That would be the first phase of buyer journey. What is tiny house? How come people choose tiny house? What is luxury tiny house? I want to know. And then you will go into, now that I know what tiny house is, I know how people decided, I know what's the good and the bad of it. I want to now consider tiny house as one of the options. Now that's where it's going to consideration phase. And consideration would be, you start looking for comparison type of keyword, right? oh, is tiny house good in the city versus in the suburb, so on and so forth. So it's as people searching in different kind of search term, is reveal a little more of the story behind how they will decide later. So a good digital marketing campaign is a marketing campaign that understand the people's need, starting from where they aware of the problem they have, and go into when they consider between each option you want to be available there, to the point where now I want to make decision. How will they make decision? And then go all the way to if they make a decision, what are some of the problems they usually have, so that you don't run into that at the post purchase part of the of a buyer journey. So that's what we think when we decide to label queries in a completely different way. We want to label them in a subjective manner, and and give people a little more qualitative data dimension instead of just strictly quantitative, like for like most tools are for the most part of history of digital marketing. You got search volume. Typically, you got search volume. You got PC,
Keyword
CPC.
difficulty. That's the
Yeah,
favorite one, isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
yes, keyword difficulty. But then, I mean, those are good, but they don't really tell you the whole picture of where people belong to in their buyer
Yeah.
journey, and what intent they actually are writing about. And even with intent, the reason why we choose to not just label by single intent is that it's not enough for you to just show an informational intent. In under informational intent, there are so many other micro intent that define that intent as well. So let me share the screen here. Um, so as you can see, uh, under intent, there are four types of intent. There are navigational intent, which is user want to find specific page or specific location. Informational intent, which is user want to learn about something, or know about something, just one information. There are commercial intent, user want to do research before making purchase, and transactional intent is when people complete a specific action, right? But I mean, under informational intent itself, there are people may want to look for information, but there are different kind of information that people look for. Sometimes it could be, by our definition, we develop our five micro intent. Entertainment, sometimes they just want entertainment and enjoyment income, like a bite-sized content. It's like a meme. I want, hey, what's meme is for tiny house. That's entertainment. I don't want to do any. I don't want to know tiny house. I just want to know what tiny house people live like. That's
Yeah.
a meme, right? Then definition, what is tiny house? So now the information is have to be very clear and precise and in a very short format. And then there's expansional, which is now they want to research a little more. How do I build tiny house? Now that is a very informational intent, but it's expansional, meaning that it will continue to go down. More and more search on that. Enablement and aggregation overview are basically users seeking to accomplish tasks require specific guidance. How do I do something, right? So it's like I need guidance on certain things. So that's kind of different micro intent of under information itself, right? So we do the same thing with transactional, and we also navigational. And by doing it, we then have a better point of view of how people, uh, you know, uh, I go back to my planner here, how search really taking place. Wait a moment. Okay, here we go. Um, yeah, so that basically is our way of label things.
This is really good stuff. If you're watching the replay or you're going to watch the replay, go back over that, because this is the game changer. We're always in a buying funnel. In fact, all of us, we are in multiple buying funnels at any one time. We're always in the as what's called the buyer's journey. Um, how many times do you see something and you think, "Oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. I just need that coffee machine. I just seen it now in the shop. I was looking for one, but that you were in the transactional stage of that buying funnel. You already know what a coffee machine is. You've experienced one. You know that you need one. You understand the problem and you understand the solution. I need to buy one. I just haven't got around to it. And then you see it and you say, "Oh, that's exactly." And you think, "Oh, it's serendipity. It's just in time." Well, that just means that you were ready to buy. By contrast, if you go into a car lot because you're going to buy a car, and you don't know what you want yet, you just want to have a look and understand what they have there. Let's say there's 1,000 cars there, but the salesman doesn't know that, and let's say the salesman is not a good car salesman, and he comes out and he tries to sell you the first car that's on the lot, and you haven't seen anything. You would find that a bit of an interrupt. You think, I don't like this person.
Mm.
He's trying to sell me this. You're not ready. You're actually not at the transaction. You're at the beginning stage of the buying funnel. And obviously a good salesman would ask you questions, leading questions, to try and figure out where you are in that buying funnel so that he can then serve you with the right information. He might say, well, what kind of car are you looking for? Do you have a family? You have 4 kids, or well, or 2 kids, and and your wife. Now now he's thinking, okay, this is the kind of car that's going to fit him. And having that information here is a game changer, because you can look at a keyword that looks great on paper because it has a high search volume and low competition. But if you don't know what content to write, what your angle should be, because you don't know at this point where the user is in the buyer funnel, and seeing that in these insights is what makes you it helps you understand what direction your content should be, because you can have the best keywords in the world on paper, and then produce content that is completely wrong, and it's going to be like the person who turns up to the car lot wanting to look because they're at the expansional. They just want to
Yeah,
do research on
yeah,
cars, and yeah, and you're just going to get the content wrong, and that's going to be someone bouncing off your page. So it's hugely important, and it's one of my favorite pieces on in this tool is having access to the buyer funnel.
yeah.
uh,
I mean, you point out it's exactly over there. It's the content served with different queries belong to different buying funnel are
exactly.
different, are very different. For example, we were doing I was working with one of our fintech clients, and they were working on micro lending. If you look at the entire queries list of 5,000 keyword of micro lending, we realize that every queries, well, most of the query, 90% of the queries actually are all in decision phase. What does it mean? It means that each time people are looking for micro lending, they already decide that they need micro lending. They need someone to loan them money very quickly, very easy, very fast. They're not looking to learn about it.
Now you can
So
see you can see as a content creator, knowing that information, just being able to see that from this tool, you already think, okay, I'm not going now. You know what type of content you're going to create. You're not going to start creating informational,
yes,
massive pillar content pieces with just like, oh, this is how it works. This is the history of it, because you're going to. That's not what the market
yeah.
wants.
Yeah, that's not what the market wants. That's correct. And you realize that you then you go into investigate it, right? You just look at some of the keywords that are decision phase, and you realize that majority of the top ranking pages are actually product pages. And you go in there, and yes, the product pages are actually customized exactly for their need, meaning that very short kind of content directly to their pain point, and make sure that they can make decision as quickly as swiftly as possible. Boop, 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 boop. And that's how you convert. So,
That's right.
so again, and another thing I want to note here is that, like many things, subjective things are very subjective, meaning that a certain keyword could be informational intent, it could also be commercial intent. It's, it's for example, tiny house eBay, for example. It could be people looking for information, but it could be people are actually looking to transact their thing. So there are multiple ways to look at info intent behind a keyword. What we're trying to provide is not an absolute measure of a certain intent, but it's as a reference point. So if you look at the intent this way, you could actually see that, okay, is people really looking for this intent, or people looking for informational intent? You could actually click on the keyword itself, and you go into this part of the sub result and see what kind of result are being popped on top, and then you can determine for yourself the kind of intent people are writing for. So again, we're building a reference point. We're not trying to be absolute
Yes,
truth that you should rely on 100%, and no
exactly.
tool should do that. I don't think so.
No, you're right because somebody searching for red socks could be somebody who wants to buy red socks, or it could be somebody who thinks, "I wonder if red socks would go, would suit me," and they're just looking for information. So again, at the query level, you never really know exactly what's in everybody's head. But as you say, if you can see the entire market and you can see that 80% of searches are informational, then you get a real sense that most of these people in this particular market are looking, and then you look at the micro intent and you can see that where they are in that buyer funnel. It gives you a great idea. It's a reference point, but it's a very good starting point for creating the right content that
I
serves that
think
right intent.
a good part here, let's go. This is a very good connecting point to what we're trying to show Keyword Planner can do. I think the first, let's stop in this screen, right? So as you can see here in this screen, you have a list of 4,800 keyword represented here. Don't worry about the cluster level or cluster group just yet. So now with this same list of keyword we saw earlier on Keyword Explorer, you have a different kind of labeling in here. Now, what can you tell from this? I think it's a very interesting case study. So what I typically want to do is I'm going to go in there. I'm going to add a few, filter. First is brand. Second is intent, uh, and then buyer journey. And then sometime I'm interested in also looking for micro intent. Now, the first thing I'm looking at is brand. So what do I mean by brand? So if a brand keyword versus a non-brand keyword, what does it mean? A brand keyword mean that a keyword that contains a brand, right? So over here we already cluster out. We already I detect for you all the brand that appear that go with a keyword. So if a keyword with a brand, it just basically mean that people have their demand with that particular brand. So you don't really want to target on that keyword either. So, but if you look at this list of brand and you look at the top, which is non-brand keyword, you start seeing something very interesting. The first thing is the total keyword is 4,008 keyword, but the number of non-brand keyword is 4,100 keyword. So now it means that there are only about 700 brand keyword that appear in this list. Now, what does it tell us? It tells us that there are not a major monopoly in this market just yet. The market are still very fragmented. There are an opportunity, a big opportunity for you to actually go in there and then make money out of this niche because
Yep.
I mean, a lot of niche are actually taken over by big brands. You talk about like phone, smartphone. You'll see most of them as Apple or Samsung or Oppo and this and that, and then very little of keyword that are non-brand,
Hmm.
right? So most of them are just brand or financial services. You see that majority of the keyword are actually brand keyword because those are the branded type of segment. Oh, they already know. They want personal loan from this bank. That's what they want to know. What is personal loan from American bank? Or Wells Fargo bank. So they already know a brand well enough for them to search for that particular brand with their service and product. But this is different. This really is to me still a huge niche because you start seeing that non-brand, you have a huge percentage are very much a non-brand keyword. You can compete on this with some of the brand, and it also means that some of the brand in here are not really doing a lot of branding activity, so you can apply. Now you see all the non-brand keyword. Now with the non-brand keyword, the second thing I want to look at is the intent. So intent here, the number will represent a user search behavior in a way. So if you look at it, you start seeing that the majority of the keyword queries in this list are informational intent. I mean, it's 3,200 keyword compared to the second one, which is transactional. The third one is commercial, and finally is navigation. So this is a content niche. This is where
Hmm.
majority of people are looking for our information. Hey, I want to know this. I want to know this. I want to know how long this, what is tech, so on and so forth. All kind of information that pop up in the way they detect, the content. And then you also go into buyer journey. Just click on it. You don't have to really choose anything. So it's just a number for you to give a sense of the story of the niche that you're playing with. So again, over here, it reflects directly with the intent. Awareness and consideration are the two major in the buyer journey of our users. Awareness take the most. So majority of people go into tiny house niche. They just want information at first. They just want to know. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what tiny house is, how to build, whether or not it's worth it to go to the. So a lot of kind of top funnel content,
Mm.
how to
Yeah.
guide, blog post comparison, so on and so forth, and then go into consideration. That's where it's like compare it between age,
Versus
and
this.
what other versus this, yes,
Yeah.
and then go to decision. But you see that majority of people don't really make decision on search engine. You can see that the amount of keyword that are actually a decision are a lot less. Post purchase are even less. So meaning that perhaps when people look for consideration and awareness, and after that they usually, if you do a branding job good enough, they will actually make the decision on the website. Well, this is one of the assumptions, that you could think of, on the website itself or on the landing page itself. So you know that, okay, I know that people are looking for information, but then if they have enough information, they likely will make the decision perhaps on there or other channel, not on Google. So they don't actually make decision based on the search anymore, but they make
Hmm.
decisions somewhere else. Now, where that somewhere else is, I don't know. I have to do further investigation. But this is sort of like give you a little more information on how you determine how you build your content, right?
Yeah.
And then micro intent, again, you go in there, you start looking what are the things that are taking most. And as you can see, it is expansional with 2000 keyword over here, take on the most amount. And then the second one, I think, is definition. Oh no, I think it's service and product. So people are looking for service and product, and then it's definition. So you roughly, again, it gives you a little more clearer of the story of what this whole kind of niche looks like, and what kind of content direction and production that you should do. For me,
Absolutely.
with this cluster, we know that I need to cover as much as possible on the awareness phase. I need to cover as much content as possible. I need to show that I am the authority of this by producing a huge amount of content that targeting majority of the keyword in the awareness and consideration first before I even think of decision. So if I can cover that, I can build trust, I can build authority, I can then actually, once I rank for most of the keyword, people when they come in, perhaps they will actually likely convert on my page. Either it will be affiliate for some brand or it will be my own branding.
Hmm.
That would roughly be my initial kind of planning on how when I just simply look at this list.
Yeah, that's a brilliant example, absolutely brilliant, because you just not only explained the labeling and the logic behind the labeling, but you've actually given us a real example. And I saw some emails coming in during the week of people asking about from the last webinar, saying they wanted to see a case study on their niche. I think I've seen a few on the building trade, and this Dan's just walked you through a real example, and this is how you can very quickly, in 10 seconds, look at your space and understand it like never before at a deeper level, just by dropping down those filters. As Dan said, you don't have to click on anything to filter and organize your data just yet. Just click down the filters and get a sense of where the market is. What is the market in this particular space for this search term? What are they doing? What are they thinking? Where are they? In this example, you saw that this is predominantly informational. And they are at the awareness stage, so they're at the very beginning. The researching, and the micro intent was expansional, so they want to know more. If it was definition, for example, um, a Google snippet serves that type of micro intent best, because they just want a definition. They just want one sentence. So obviously, if you're in a niche and everything is the micro intent is definition, you want to avoid that. You're not going to create content, because those people are not looking to invest time reading a long blog post. They just want a definition. But here it was expansional. They want to know more. They want to know everything about this. So as Dan said, to establish your authority in this particular example, you need to crank out lots and lots of content. And incidentally, that will probably be the next webinar. We need to talk about the content
Content
creator, because
creation phase, yes. Yeah.
that has had a major overhaul as well, and that's now using AI as well. Everybody's favorite buzzword right now,
Yeah.
and that's a thing to behold. But
Yeah.
um, you know, so this was a great example on labeling and on how to actually get a bird's eye view of your niche, of any space very quickly, just all from one tab without having to go to actually doing manual searches and trying to understand what Google's telling you. Everything is here. This is
Mm.
a powerhouse of a tool. I
Yeah.
just love it.
Yeah. So,
So, yeah,
sorry, I should cut you because I want to note people with something else here. You can also utilize this button for show not in any cluster keyword only. What does it mean? Like, well, if you turn this on, will actually show you these are the list of keywords that actually don't belong to any cluster. So this is a singular keyword. Well, this is the what different from the list of the total keywords. So in here, there are only 196 cluster, and with the 196 cluster, actually over here is 4,300 keywords selected, meaning that there are only seven about 500 keywords that are being clustered, right? So a majority of the keyword over here are actually keyword that are not belong to any cluster. So maybe one of the other way I could do is I reduce the cluster level to increase more cluster for so I have more of the article that I could write, or I keep this. And if you look at this, you'll see that a lot of the search volume are actually in the total search for over here is 1.7 mil. So but the 500 words that are being able to cluster are actually take up a million search. So you could just simply, okay, you know what? I don't worry about this for now. I'm going to go straight into cluster to make sure that I'm going to cover all that content first before I go into here and checking out all the keywords that do not belong to other cluster.
mhm,
And take note also is that you will have to there will be keyword like tiny house in Philippines for sales. Just simply that's how Google keyword database kind of point out keyword for you. These keyword do not belong to US. So a lot of times you have what we call irrelevant keyword. So you have to take that out of the context as well. Yeah, so that is this view, which is the full view. Typically, I would say try to utilize this to make it into a bird eye views of what you want to target. And so before you go into cluster view.
absolutely. It's a very versatile tool. It's a very versatile tool. You said something very interesting there with the fact that you can decide by the number of keywords that don't belong to a cluster whether you should go back and recluster that at just a level.
Mm.
And that's a great way. And again, these are all button clicks. You're doing processes that used to take forever and a day, and had a huge margin of error, just from constantly staring at your screen at data rows, and you've got everything hidden now behind functions, which gives you incredible power, and just the fact that you can make decisions based on very good data, and not just the data source, but actually the filtering. It just puts your game at a different level. Um, Dan, I'm seeing that we're actually encroaching on about an hour now. So
Yeah.
should we jump into a Q&A? Because I know there are some questions that came in.
Yeah.
And anything you wanna close off with before we jump into the Q&A?
I guess I'm very sorry to I guess we have to say sorry for most of people because we haven't even got to the cluster view yet. Do
I
you want
know.
to just go like 10 minutes or 15 minutes over and then we finish
Let's do
this
that.
one and then we go to Q&A. We honestly guys we actually try to keep this under an hour, but it looks like there's so much to cover just simply from the flow to this. So, but I hope we what we are trying to do is give you the values that you
Yeah.
need when it comes to planning your content plan.
You
Um,
can always you
but
can always watch the replay, and you can always watch it in two different sittings if you push for time, because Daniel says, there's good information here that can just change your game. This is the equivalent of going to, I mean, this is what's happening now. This is how you do SEO now. So it's worth, yeah, let's go over that, and that way we've got a complete webinar that covers something really well, and then people can go back and watch the replay.
sure.
So let's talk about clustering, the clustering view.
Yeah, so I mean, right now we are now in clustering view. So one of the thing that the beauty of labeling is when you are able to label things, you are also able to kind of build a better filter. So in the past, you are only like if you look at Keyword Explorer, you are only able to filter them by very much objective data or search volume, include, exclude. CPC, the amount of word count. So those are very, very basic, and it doesn't really make any impact in terms of the way you filter, right? But with this, again, you are able to now filter in an entirely new way. So the first thing is, again, pick on non-brand, right? So you want to take out all the cluster that actually belong to other brand, because you cannot, typically you can't really rank for other people brand. And also, if you rank for it, there's a very low chance for you to compete on, the things that people look at, that the demand that they have on other people's brand. So that's the first thing I'll do. And because of the view I had on the first page, I know that I will want to focus on everything informational first. I just want to establish the fact that I'm going to cover everything on informational, right? Click apply. The third thing I'll do is that I'm going to go on every article. So the least amount of competition I want to do is I'm going to look for all the cluster that are article. Meaning, what do I mean by this is, if you click on this, we'll apply it, and then let's say you click on this, you see that will show you majority of the if you click on the sub overview of this cluster, you see the keyword, you see that the result, most of them are article type, either article type or video type, so which are all very low in competition compared to, let's say, product. If I go into a product page here, uh, go to product, applied, and you go in here and you see that it's Zillow, it's tinyhouse.com. Most of these Spurs, for example, they are more or less product pages, right? And we don't want to compete a lot on product pages. And the first phase of determining your angle of competition is to focus on your quick win. So by focusing on quick win, meaning that you just focus on the things that you know you have the highest chance to win. All you need to do is just click on article, click apply, and now every cluster, the rest of the cluster, they all article. Then typically what I usually do is maybe buyer journey, but honestly, buyer journey is usually reflect on information and articles, so I could just leave it as it is
Yeah.
for now. I could go into micro intent, and perhaps I would just pick on expansional, and to make sure that all the keyword, if I write, it's going to be long form, it's going to be block type, and it's going to have a higher chance to rank. So now I just go into each of this topic, and I start to kind of look at it. And as you can see, this simple topic, compact living space, have three cluster in it, and the highest level cluster is two bed tiny house. And if you as you look at this, you know that, okay, if I could just cover the top one, two, three, four, five, or four topic, I'm actually taking roughly close to 50,000 search volume cover already, right? So it's by showing search volume, you know
Hmm.
the amount of work you have to put in to cover 50,000 search volume, right? So you want to cover this one first. You want to cover, first of all, the things that is easier to gain quick win, the things easier for you to build authority, things that are easier for you to actually have a chance to beat other brand. And it's non-brand, it's informational, it's article, it's belong to awareness bio journey. I know this kind of stuff. That is important for Google. I'm gonna cover all of that. And if I can cover the first five topic, that will give me at least 50,000 search volume that I can showcase to Google. So as you click on each of these, you'll start seeing, different sort of cluster. So tiny home cost, for example, and from there, just utilize our AI to click on suggest content brief and see what we suggest. And another beauty of labeling is, because we know these are article, these are informational, these are expansional, these belong to awareness space. We can tell you the exact type of content angle, and also the type of content format that would fit best in way to solve the customer pain when they look for this. I mean, tiny house cost, how much does tiny house cost? And to us, that would be how-to guide. People are actually looking for, a comprehensive guide to understanding the cost of building a tiny house. They will really want to know the detail of how much a tiny house costs. So in the past, all of this thing you have to do with your brain. You have to think so hard. Okay, I know this is the keyword. What should I write? Well, not just that. I know this is a single keyword. Now, what are the keyword I need to include in this article? Well, now I solve, rather than solve it for you very quickly. And the second step would be like, well, with this kind of keyword, what kind of content I should write, and then the kind of content you should write, what kind of target audience I should write for, what kind of other perspective I should take on when you write this piece of content, and what kind of content format that would fit best. Or you don't even have to think about it now;
Hmm.
it's there. So I
That's a
think that's the I think that's the first part of this cluster view that we can talk about, and then
great.
maybe the next webinar we can talk even deeper a little more on
Yeah.
on cluster.
Well, that's a great point because you can, at the end of the day, you can filter all the keywords with the state of the art tools and end up with a few keyword lists that say these are the best keywords. But your next question is, well, how what kind of how do I write the content? Who am I talking to, and what's the angle and everything? And as you say, everybody just got a preview there of the next step, which will be the content creator. So just to recap, Dan just generated some content outlines there, some content briefs, and in there you have the tone, the angle, and the author's perspective. Whether you're approaching this as a from a friendly tone, from or from an expert tone, and all that is derived from the insights. It's derived from real data. The tool is pulling all that data together, all those insights, and it's saying this market is looking for an expert that is going to deliver this. And this is the direction of the content. This is the tone. It's telling you everything. There is no guesswork. So and I just want to touch up before we go into the Q&A that um, you can appreciate the power that you have, the powerhouse that is this tool. But you know what? When I first, I think it was my first conversation with you, Dan, a long time ago. You spent about 30 minutes just talking about design and the importance of design and how obsessed you were about things looking how they had to serve a purpose. Every pixel had to earn its keep. And I
Mhm.
just want to say that the amount of information and power that this tool puts at your fingertips is one thing, but credit to the interface and the thought that has gone into organizing this data this way, because this could have easily have been a train wreck if you present all that data in just like in any way. It just wouldn't make any sense. It would be overwhelming. In fact, it is an overwhelming amount of data, but it's you can see the first column is all your topics. You click in the topics, you see the clusters. They're like a a subsection of your topics, and then you click on a cluster, and then you see the keywords. Everything is neatly organized into something that we can conceptualize very easily with our brains. Oh, these are cards, and I can see what's inside these cards. And it's a tremendous amount of data, but it's the design that's 50% of what's enabling you to use this information and to have this power is actually the way in which it's presented. So hats off, Dan, because
Thank you. I have to thank
the
my team for that. That should
I
be my head of design.
I think I think you forget, you take it for granted, and you talk about the data and you forget about the presentation is key, to making
Yeah.
this work.
I
But
think
yeah,
I
as I
think
say,
we try to do it almost like a given thing. We have to be able to deliver it in a
mm,
better way, better labeling, better design. We do aware that it's insane amount of data,
mm,
and it's going to get more. I mean, we have a bunch of other different filters are being developed more and more in our backbone. I mean, you probably likely be able to even do validate by domain. You will know what domain are ranking where, and how you see your domain appearing in this cluster and where you're performing. So you can actually cluster the keyword that your domain are not the keyword that are what we call keyword gap. Some other keyword your other domain are not ranking for, and you are not ranking for. But if you attack it, you probably will be able to win it. So it's like those again go into a filter. But that would be a future. I don't want to overpromise anything, but that's something we will build.
there's more power coming. There's more power coming.
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
should go into the Q&A. House. I think it's
Yeah.
it's already 100. It's 1 hour. We are very close to the end here. So we
Okay,
got 15 minutes. Let me share the
let's
screen.
quickly jump into the Q&A. Okay.
All right. Would love to see you slow it down and open up the webinar to some small business example within a 100-mile or less radius. We aren't servicing everyone on the internet and even across the whole state. I would also pay for tutorial subscription with one of your one expert set up meeting for our SEO and keyword and website audit. Thank you. I will take that as a compliment. I
This is
think
one about local SEO, isn't it?
yeah. I think at the moment we can't really do that. I think we do have some interest in building local SEO in terms of state-wise, meaning that you could actually choose the location down to the state level in US or maybe a city level in other country. But beyond, we don't really have a further plan just yet on that end. One of the thing is because the limitation of keyword planner as well. So our algorithm now only allows us to cluster keyword on a national level, not on the local level. So uh, the result you see on Keyword Explorer will not be the same result that you would see on Keyword Planner. So I guess that is the gap in which we're trying to solve. And I want to be honest, and very transparent with the limitation of technology that we are facing with. But yeah, I think that's something that we did discuss, but not yet in our roadmap. That
Okay,
we're
well,
thinking of.
that's cool.
Yeah, I
If I
want you
wanna
to build. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Hassan.
if I wanna build an affiliate site on archery set, how do I proceed? Well, essentially, it's going to be the same for any topic, but very quickly, and maybe we can do a case example in other webinars where we actually do case studies. But essentially, I would start by looking, if you're just coming at this from fresh, get a sense of the market. Start you by using the topic explorer, do your topic research, see what topics you need to cover in order to build topical authority. Choose, decide the topics. Obviously you'd start at the first tool and write the zen, then you go into keyword explorer, choose the best keywords, or choose one topic and look for the highest keyword. Start your keyword research there, get all the related keywords from there, then cluster those keywords. That will take you into the keyword planner, and then get a view of the market and understand what the market is looking for, where they are in the buyer funnel, whether they're looking for information. And from there, you can go on to the content planner, which we're going to cover in the next webinar, and create your content according to what the insights are telling you. Okay, so that was a very brief way of doing it, but that's how you more or less, that's a general overview of how you would tackle any topic.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into that next one since we do
Yeah,
want to cover the topical authority piece as well. We want to
yeah.
cover the pillar pages piece as well. So those are the pieces that typically work very well with case study. And I think that'll be, we'll save this and then we'll probably do that.
Hmm.
Possible, can you give us the location and that you want? If not, I assume it will be United States. Are you going to be supporting local keyword SEO? I think it's the same question as number one. I think we already gave the answer. Um,
Okay.
you
How's
asked us, oh,
you
Hoss,
asked
this
us?
is for you.
Yeah, one for me. How's you asked us to post topics? Yep. We'd like to understand more deeply. I'm interested in some practical training on the difference between pillar content, cornerstone content, and flagship content. Why do I get the difficult ones? I've done some research on these three concepts, and what I need is some practical training on how to use Right2Send to establish my content authority in any given niche. Thanks. Okay, so to establish your content authority, the bottom line is creating content or creating the right content. So as Daniel showed in that example, if people are looking for information, then you need to crank out informational articles to establish your authority. Regarding the pillar content, cornerstone content, and flagship content, sometimes people use those interchangeably, but very briefly, pillar content is an important piece that covers a broad topic and includes subtopics. So, for example, Nutrition 101. You're not going to fit everything in that page about nutrition, but you're going to talk about other subtopics like sleep, supplementation, exercise, things that relate to well-being, and that's going to be your pillar content. It's really a hub into other topics. Okay, so pillar content. Cornerstone content is like pillar content, but it has a narrower view. So it covers something very well, but it's more narrow. So, for example, kettlebell training. You could have a page that explains exactly how to do kettlebell training. Now, I just want to mention something interesting, that it does depend on the context, because if your site is you have a blog and it's about kettlebell training only, then that kettlebell training piece is now not a cornerstone piece, it's now pillar content, because that's like what the site is actually about. So from that you could have cornerstone pieces, which would be, kettlebell training indoors, kettlebell training outdoors. Keep that in mind. These are concepts, but essentially they're all informational. Sorry, they're all important pieces of content. So pillar content again is like a hub. A broad topic covers many subtopics. It's a hub into other things. Cornerstone content is more narrow, covers one thing entirely, like kettlebell training. And then flagship content is like the most important thing, or piece of content that your site is known for. If you think about the word flagship and how we use it, we say a flagship store. If we talk about brick and mortar stores, the flagship store is the most important store. So to give you an example, a flagship content for a shopping cart, like Shopify or any of these hosted shopping carts, a flagship content, their flagship content could be an online guide on how to start an online business, how to source a product and sell it. And obviously, that would be a full guide on how to do this, and that could be their flagship content. And obviously, that would be an entry point into their funnel, which would be to get a subscription for the online store. But they would show you how to do those things, where to go to source the product, how to set up your shopping cart, and that would be the flagship content. It's the most important piece of content on the website, as an example. So I
Mhm.
hope that makes sense.
All right. Thanks, Hoss. Next one, I guess, is for me. Daniel spoke about the new topic in cluster with an analogy of puppet spoke. I'd like to have more knowledge and training on how to do the internal linking on my website or client's website. If I create 40 articles throughout the years, I don't know how to connect them into internal linking to get the most SEO juice. I think this will come back to the topical and pillar page and subtopic as well. So the same example, you could say kettlebell training, and under that you have a cornerstone pages like kettlebell indoor, training indoor. Under that you have a series of different articles. Kettlebell training indoor for beginner, kettlebell training indoor for intermediate, kettlebell training indoor for advanced level. So the internal linking work in a way that you will link those three together. For example, in the piece of content of kettlebell training for beginner, you will actually link maybe a paragraph in that would say, if you want to know more, perhaps you can visit. We have an entire article regarding kettlebell training for intermediate, and then you put the link there. So when Google bot go in there, they'll see a very neatly organized structure of the way you construct your SEO. They go into the main pillar, which is your kettlebell training. You go into kettlebell training indoor, so they know the bot will know the mapping of your website. That's the pillar. That's the first pillar. And you go into the first topic, which is for beginner, and then you see that wow, in this sub in this pillar page under this pillar topic, there are three different subtopics. They're all linked together consequently. And so when the bot go in the first page, they will continue to click on the internal linking to go on the second and go on the third. And that's how you kind of construct the mapping of the way your website should look. So the more neatly well organized it is being organized and present, the better it is for Google bot to go in there and really see how you are as an organic marketer. And because the way it's constructed will be how user friendly it is will also determine the user experience when they enter the pages as well. So I think this one will probably explore more in other webinar when we talk about topical authority and topical subject and so on. I think it's the same thing with the next question. The link
Yeah,
is discover cluster to what discussion about topical authority, how can use writers and establish so on and so forth. I think those are all kind of interrelated. I guess these are the things that people really wanted to know. So I guess
yeah.
that's something we will definitely go in there. See the another
The
the
next
next
one's
one
topical
here,
authority as well.
same,
Yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
I think,
So
and the next one. So I think, yeah, I think the next webinar has been decided. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, we need to cover the content creator as well.
Yeah, yeah. The AI writer have NLP built in. So I guess we'll answer this in the next session, next webinar, when we go directly into the content creator, how you utilize it, how you build in skills, and what's the best practice we think you should apply to. My name is here with the nickname Gano4. I have some new question. Does a tool use computer data to generate content brief, or does it simply use GPT? At the moment, just GPT. I think that's one of the angle that we're looking at. We want to use computer data to actually generate the content brief, and that's what we're working on. Not sure when we'll launch it, but it's definitely something we're working on. When is it expected to be able to export content brief in the downloadable Excel file? We do not know. We have not had that in our roadmap yet. I guess we'll put this in the feature request base uh, uh, at the moment. When to expand language support in content brief? I guess meaning that in content brief you will choose the language. I think that should be soon. I think we are already in the making of that, and that should be very, very, very soon. Is contemporary leverage on automated outline generation and book writing? Yes, it is. I think contemporary should be continue to show content creator section. You can help content creator better navigate. What he means here is when they go into content creator, there should be a section that show the content brief that previously was made. I agree, and that's something we will definitely work on. Um, is contemporary leverage on ultimate outline generation and book writing? Yes. And we will show you how to do that in the next webinar. Please up the limit for importing keyword. Right now it's only 3,000 keyword. Thanks. Well, I guess this is a very high demand kind of request. Yeah, we're working on it. I think we're gonna do an offering because we can't really just increase without take a toll on our server. But I think a lot of people are willing to pay for a quick upgrade. I think that's something that we're working on. A few different options for upgrade. And once we decide on, we actually have to build the backend to have the upgrade smoothly as well. So that takes some time, but it will definitely come your way. Okay, I think we'll finish the question now.
Excellent, fantastic. So that's all we have time for today. Again, we lied about the 1 hour again. We keep doing this. We keep doing this. Sorry about this, but but it was good stuff. And again, do send in your feedback, please. And even if you think we should keep these things down to 60 minutes, let us know. But we there is a lot of content that we're trying to cover and give as much value as possible. So I hope you appreciate that. Once again, we will get into deeper into well, we'll go into the content creator. I think next we will do a webinar on topical authority, because this is a high demand now. It's very obvious now. And case studies. We promise case studies, and people are asking about the niches. So once again, if you're new here, make sure that you check out the free SEO course on writersend.net
Yes.
forward slash academy. That's the Writers End Academy. And of course, if you haven't used Writers End yet, then go to writersend.net. What are you waiting for? Is it a 30-day trial? Is that correct now?
Yeah, we just extend our trial to 30 days, and as well as we give people credits to try. So you can now utilize the entire tool from A to Z. You could actually go from keyword research to clustering to come on your content brief and planning, and then go all the way to content creation, all
Fantastic.
while you are on trial in 30 days for you to decide. So
Make sure that 30 days is a long time. You can actually plan a couple of really good long big campaigns, and make use of all the webinars and all the training, because that's what they're there for. So do catch us in the next webinar, and do send us all your feedback, so that we know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, and hopefully we're doing more right than wrong. Thank you very
thank you
much,
guys.
Dan. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Us. Thank you,
We'll see you
everyone.
the
I hope
next
to
time.
see you guys again. Yeah, bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.